Welcome to Beyond Time Signatures.
Pleasure to be here, bro.
Yep. So first of all, I'd like not waste much more time, and I'll like straight get into it. I we all know that you started up with like playing the Gorillaz bass line and stuff, but I want to know like what bands got you into playing metal and playing metalcore.
It's good. I think the true gateway was probably the first heavy shit was probably like Linkin Park, and then
Okay.
that was closely followed by System of a Down, and then pretty soon after that was Trivium and Killswitch.
Yeah. Oh, Killswitch. I think I still listen to the Howard Jones era of Killswitch Engage, and I don't think like it's timeless basically. Like the riffs, and even what Adam D did with the production and the sound design. Like even after almost 20 years, you don't feel like it's sounding bad, quote unquote. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, they definitely stood apart in that era because they had the producer in the band,
Yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah.
think
And correct.
back then you needed to. Most bands had to go to a producer. It wasn't like it is now where you can do everything by yourself. So yeah,
Yeah,
big one for me.
yeah. And what Killswitch songs do you like the most?
They've got a few, man. Honestly, all of End of Heartache and all of Daylight Dies are kind of just in here, you know.
Yeah.
But early favorites. When I first heard the riff from Rose of Sharon,
Ah, okay.
that was a real game changer for me. I'd never heard anything that quick before. So Rose of Sharon, Breathe Life, Darkness Falls. The closer is Hope Is. There's another one I can't remember, but the whole
For
the whole
me,
album.
right, yeah. For me, I would say the Arms of Sorrow, like the intro, is like so uplifting, and then you have like the most gnarliest riff ever. So like
Mm.
I like that switch a lot, and that song probably even still sticks out for me the most from the entire Kill Switch. And I would say second one would be Reject Yourself, because like has like a personal meaning uh, for me. But yeah, those two songs I would say. And yeah, drop C for me. And then there was this band asking Alexandria. I mean, that got me into drop D and Avenged Sevenfold, I would say. But yeah, um, you were in a band before Monuments, right?
Yeah,
Well,
Cyclamen.
what kind of music did you play in that? Like, was it uh, something similar to Monuments or?
No, not at all. Cyclamen was like I don't really know what they. So the brain behind it is a dude called Hayato Imanishi, and it's basically his band, and he calls the
Okay,
shots. And his vision was very inspired by things like Sixth. So I don't know if you call that math or noise or what, but it was quite random and techie, um, and hard. But I don't know what you call that. But it was very
would you
different.
call it hardcore in a way?
I wouldn't at
Oh,
all.
really?
But
Yeah.
yeah, there was no similarities to Monuments whatsoever. It
Okay.
was a big change
So then, how did you get into Monuments?
because Cyclamen had posted some in studio stuff on YouTube, and the Monuments boys had seen it, and then I bumped into Mike uh, at Cyclamen supported Tesseract. I bumped into Mike there, and he said that they needed someone to fill in for an upcoming tour, and yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there.
Nice. So like you started off as a fill-in, and then you eventually became like a full-time member, right?
Yeah, I did the tour, and then at the end of the tour, they kind of decided, and I knew straight away that that would be the optimum outcome for me is to be a full time member, but it wasn't it wasn't guaranteed at all.
I see. And what was it like, touring with Tesseract and Periphery?
It was nuts. I was very green. I was very young. I was very hyper. I didn't have any experience really. I played like maybe under 10 gigs with Cyclamen. Um, Never really messed with a 7 or 8 string before. Never toured. Um, and I was a huge fan of Monuments and Periphery and Tesseract. So it was a lot to take in. It was quite intense. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. And it's a special, that tour was special because it's the first, you only really get one first big tour where you're just surrounded, Misha's walking about, Akil's walking about. I'm in Monuments for the tour. So it was a lot to take in, and I just had a lot of respect for all of the music they were making. And I was right there in the middle of it. It's the first time that Periphery had come to Europe and stuff like that. So yeah, it was insane and pretty special.
Wow. Yeah, and also like I can't really understand like how it must be, but you literally were like at the center of an entire genre that was about to like take off in the next few years, and everyone past 30 who I talked to from the scene, everyone says that the source point was 7strings.org. So like what was 7string.org, like because I'm a Gen Z guy, I did not grow up with forums, so like can you explain to me what 7string.org was and what significant it had?
So I never logged on. I never
Really?
went on. Yeah, I kind of just missed it. Slash, had no interest. It just didn't happen for me. But
Okay.
from what I gather, it was important because this is the place where uh, Brown, Ackle, Misha, the boys from Vuljara, the boys from Uneven Structure, and Paul from Chimspanner, Cloud Kicker as
Shit.
well, maybe, were all. That's where they kind of cultivated this thing of like sharing patches, sharing demos, sharing riffs, sharing how to get tones, how to make a 7 string sound good, because these things weren't public knowledge,
Right.
and baritone 7 strings weren't even a thing back then. So that's kind of the place where all that stuff kind of went down, and a lot of people worked out a lot of stuff, and stole riffs of each other apparently. But yeah,
Yeah, I
involved.
mean,
I wasn't there. I kind
okay.
of came after it.
Yeah, I see. And yeah, that makes me like question, because like the style of Tesseract guys is like quite different from the Periphery guys, and Monument's style is quite different from the both of them, right? I would say like Monuments, since Brown is like a big down picking guy, and even you are a massive down picking guy. So like, did you like start becoming better at down picking because of Brown, or like was it something else that struck your attention towards down picking?
Um, I mean, it's a metal technique. I didn't have any aspirations to take it as far as Brown had already, but I had to because that's how you play that style of music. Um, so yeah, it just kind of happened naturally. You can get around the riffs by playing them with alternate picking, but it doesn't sound good.
Yeah,
And
the
I
attack that
studied,
you get from down picking basically is like totally different, right?
yeah, and if you're entering a different musical environment, I was taught that you have to do what you can to be stylistically appropriate. So instead of going in and being like, no, this is how I do it, you take something with you. Um, and yeah, it just kind of happened naturally. I think I don't think you can, if they were to get a second guitar player today, I'd be amazed if they didn't do the same thing.
I see.
It just doesn't
I
make,
see.
make any sense.
Right. Yeah, because like the style, and like it's quite profound and like quite its own sound at this point. Like the down picking stuff along with the crazy licks riffs for Monuments especially, and yeah, I mean. And what songs like helped you strengthen your down picking? Because like for me, it was Balance and Master of Puppets.
Sure. Well, just anything metal. Like Slipknot have some crazy down picking stuff. So do Trivium. So do Lamb of God. Kind of tend to alternate pick, but I try and learn their stuff with down picking. It is something I was working on before I joined Monuments, but Monuments was the thing where it was like, oh, now I have to get it together. Do you know what I
Correct.
mean?
Yeah.
So Monuments tunes would be things like Doxa, Empty Vessels. There are more. I can't think of them. Um, Empty Vessels was great. Empty Vessels is like instrumentally one of my favorite things in the world. It's just so sick.
Yeah. And I mean, for me personally, like from the entire Monuments discography, I'm gonna butcher the name, but like the album Amanuensis, or how do you pronounce it?
Amanuensis.
Amanuensis. Okay, yeah, it like changed me personally because it wasn't just heavy; it had a lot of harmonic elements, and I mean, yeah, it's something about Chris's vocals that like made. So like, what significance did that album have on you guys?
That was a big turning point because I think I don't know. There's something about the excitement of it, and for me, it's my favorite heavy album ever. It just
Oh,
does everything that I want from a metal album. Um, so yeah, from the instruments to the vocals to the writing to the themes to the creativity, everything's just on a 10. The only thing that's not really is the production. That hasn't
but
aged amazing.
hey, I'll tell you though, the bass tone slaps still till this day. The bass tone on that album is super sick.
Cool. I mean, it still did a lot for us, and that coincided with us going to the States the first time, and it did a lot for us. I think it's a really special album, and obviously it's extra special to me because I was there during that period. So yeah,
Right.
it's a big one. It's a
But
very
hey, I
sick.
mean, how sick is like the album art and the concept of like the first song being either Creator and the last song being either Destroyer. So like it's like a whole circle, and that's what the album represents. Who came up with that idea? I'm curious.
I can't remember. I think it's probably between Brown and Chris. Uh, Brown always has a concept going to some degree. Same with Swanee. He's a thinker. Um, they kind of handled all that stuff. I just nodded and agreed. I
Okay.
didn't. I never really had that kind of headspace. But
Right.
Paul McKenzie, who did the art, was quite. He's a big part of that as well because he just always got. I don't think he's worked in Monuments for a while now. I don't even know if you can find him. He's one of those guys that just isn't on the internet. But anytime we came up with something, he just got it immediately and was able to visualize it and give us a visual representation for it, for merch or posters, artwork, all this stuff. So that whole aesthetic, a lot of it's down to him as well. He's very sick.
Yeah. Because like I was always mesmerized by it, and what else? I lost my train of thought. Um, so yeah. Coming back to like since you were not like a big part of like naming and having like an idea and stuff, but like when you started your own thing, so like like how did you name your song? So for example, Open, Tide. I know that Tide is like a super old song, but so like how do you go about naming the songs?
Things just tend to snowball. So I just base it on what's going on in my life at the moment of writing it. So open is just, for example, there's a scale that I'm not too fond of. So as a like creative concept, I try and put myself in a situation where I have to use this thing. It's Lydian. I'm not a huge
Okay.
fan of Lydian. So I was like, well, let's try and make that sound cool to my ears then. And just there are other things going on in my life, like personally, that I was trying to be more open-minded about. Just try new things. Balance is because it's just a thing that we all need. And it was just a pattern that kept emerging in my life.
I see.
So the whole like from creating music, so you have heavy and soft, distorted, clean, singing, screaming, major, minor, blah blah blah,
Right.
busy, us. And then more personally, it's more like work versus play. Just little things like that. Focus versus relaxation. So that's just, and then even the song is written with the concept of balance is something I use in every single tune that I write, every single riff that I write, anything that I produce. That's always kind of there naturally. It's not. I don't sit down and decide to. It just exists to me.
I
Um,
see.
yeah, it just whatever's happening is what I'll base it on because
Yeah,
that's
and
that's
that's fair too, cause like it gives like a more personal touch, to cause like apart from Tide and even Try, everything else was instrumental, right? So you need to make some sort of like connection, because like you can't 100% leave the tune for interpretation, especially because like those songs are like, you know, upbeat, catchy and stuff, right? I wouldn't say like it's mellow and it's like slow and stuff. So like you probably need some sort of like name a face to the instrumental tunes, because like with lyrics it's easy, like you have a theme and people can, you know, be steered in a way of thinking, but with instrumentals it's open to interpretation, right?
Yeah, but it's going to be that anyway, because what the song means to me isn't what it's going to mean to someone else. It could be the soundtrack to someone's summer, or it could help them get through a rough patch, or it could just be a party tune, or it could remind them of a road trip or something like this. I only recently got into reading Tool lyrics. I can't remember how that happened, but realizing what these songs that I've listened to a billion times are actually about, that was interesting. It doesn't affect that won't rewrite the emotional connection that I have to the tunes, but it's interesting to see what their perspective is and what they're trying to say. So I think no matter how much you try and tell someone or that this song is about this, or that you try and present it in a certain way, everyone's different. Everyone just has a different emotional response. Everyone's in a different part of their life. So the interpretation thing is kind of always under the hood anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And yeah, I would like, so like now I would like to ask you like the elephant in the room, and about your EP Imbalance. First of all, is it an antithesis to the song Balance in any way?
No, it's just, again, so a lot of the times concepts just tend to snowball. So
Okay.
I'm not necessarily thinking about the concept immediately. Sometimes it can come after. Sometimes that can help me if I stop and think what's going on. That'll help me label something or develop a theme. But it's only related to balance in name. But it's called Imbalance because of, again, what I was experiencing, but now at what Adam's experiencing as well.
Right.
But yeah, there's a little nod to the ending of Balance in the intro of Imbalance, like the tiniest little thing.
Yeah,
It's not,
probably that motif where you like you'd say.
yeah, a bendy motif hook thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Okay.
we're not doing the Dream Theater thing where like every song has the same melody tucked away in there or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
a new,
okay. Like no callbacks.
no,
I see.
not
Okay.
this time, but who knows what could happen in the future.
Right, right. So like can you walk us through like each song and what does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, an intro is the intro, and it's an introduction to a new pairing, like a new chemistry,
So
a
like you
new
and Adam,
musical,
right?
yeah, a new musical reaction in that regard. Um, Even though it's not my first song, it could easily be the first time someone hears me. So it's kind of got a little bit of everything that I do in there. So
Right.
it's like here's me, here's my thing. Um, the themes, like lyrically, are just about making better decisions, being wiser with age, dealing with age, like handling turning 30, um, little things like that.
I see.
Animals is about conflict. I think that's pretty obvious in the lyrics.
Right.
Waves is about, so this is weird because I thought Waves was about drugs because we'd spoken about that. Um, I thought, because we'd spoken about it, and I thought it was about narcotics, but also pharmaceutical drugs
Okay.
and
Drugs
FOMO.
in
And
general.
yeah, so it's not like a party anthem to go do cocaine. It's just, or I just thought it was a polarity to talk about both things. But apparently it's not that at all, and that was a joke. So I only found this out recently. Apparently it's more about trying to guide a significant other who's dealing with like depression or something like this.
I see.
So but again, these are Adam's lyrics. But then there are relationshipy themes on the EP as well, so it's all good. And then Sirens is just basically a breakup song. It's about conflict in a relationship.
I see. Yeah.
Uh, that's
For me personally, I think since I had heard Waves riff like since 2020, so like I was like very keen on that. But what I would like to ask you is that was it in a way that you had instrumentals for the songs ready and then you send them to Adam and Adam did the lyrics part, or like what was like uh, many aspects of the entire EP a collaborative effort between you both while writing?
it's for the most part, that is the first way you described it is how I usually go about things. So I sent him Waves and I sent him Animals, and I was like, "Do you want to sing over these?" And he was like, "Yeah," and we just handled it that way. Then then I sent Intro, and I was like, "I want to do this too, but I don't really want to treat it like a song. I don't want to. I know it's a bit structureless and weird, but I don't want to repeat anything. I just want it to kind of flow, and we can use it as an intro."
Right.
And I knew specifically where I wanted him to sing and where I didn't want him to sing. And I even wrote some vocal lines, like the first vocal lines that you hear on that song. That's me as well. So I had quite a specific idea for that.
Correct. Okay.
And then Sirens is a bit different because I had half of it done and I sent it to him and I was like, because I'm just thinking now, okay, if we're doing 2 tunes and an intro, I might as well do a third. But I had like half or 2/3 of Sirens or something like this. And I was like, if you like this, I could finish it and turn it into a song. And he was like, yeah. So I was just sending him updated versions of that, and he was just saying yes to everything. That's cool. That's cool. And then obviously, well, I don't know if we've spoken about this yet, but I wasn't actually feeling the outro of Sirens, and I was probably going to remove it from the EP. But he
So like the
convinced me.
thumping part?
Yeah, basically, just the whole
Okay.
ambient
Right.
percussive outro. But he convinced me that that was a silly idea, and he was right. But outside of that, I'm not. It's my solo music, so I'm not taking advice or going back and forth with people.
Okay, I see.
Outside of the Waves verse was half the length, and this is a classic thing that happens with singers. Sometimes they need more verse to tell their story, to make their lyrics make sense. So he was like, "Can we double this?" And that wasn't hard to do. So yeah, but outside of that, I'm not. It's very collaborative, and we worked a lot on the vocals together, and we're going back and forth, and there weren't many disagreements or anything like that, but we did have our roles.
I see. Fair enough. Yeah. And but like Adam's pretty awesome, honestly. Like, when I first heard Aviations, I was like, who the fuck is this dude? How is he so cool? And yeah, I mean, so like, was there like a specific time where you had an idea that no, I want Adam and no one else on this project?
It didn't actually work that way. I asked about, I don't know, maybe like 10 people before Adam.
Really?
And yeah, and I almost gave up, like, because I didn't think I was going to find a singer. Because this guy was busy, this guy didn't work out, this guy wasn't interested, so on and so forth. This guy was interested, but he needed to get through a tour first, or he could only do it in a few months. Just little things not working out for various reasons. And then, so I had an idea I was going to post Waves instrumentally and just tell people to sing over it. And I was going to try and find someone that way.
So like a crowdsource thing.
Yeah, like a auditions thing, which could have been fun. Because it's fun. I've been part of an audition process before like that. And it's fun to see how different people approach it. But then you give a song away at that point as well.
Yep.
But yeah, so speaking to Werner, who now plays bass for Volumes, and he's in Aviation, and he's tested Adam, and that's how we got together.
Hell yeah, yeah. That was like a very, very great decision in my opinion, because like I mean even Aviations are like taking off after their album, so like Adam's like popular these days. I think I even sent you a meme saying that your guys' collaboration reminded me of Sean Kingston and Justin Bieber. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah. I didn't really get it, but I kind of get it.
Yeah, because like it was nobody was gonna expect it, but like it turned out to be super super cool, and that's what you guys did too.
Oh, I see. I see. Cool. I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah. So like that, but yeah. And one thing that I noticed is that in my head what I thought that you guys probably like structured out the songs because like it just like it sounded like a track for vocalists and like not that hey I'm a guitar player and I can write songs and like there's like too much going on like lead wise and stuff. Like I would say in that one waves bridge section, like apart from that everything sounds like it was built for vocalists. And I think because you had that repertoire from being in Monuments and writing for vocals, you were able to do it like so fantastically. Because like if you were to just like transition from like writing songs like Open, Balance, and Get Trucked, something like that, to writing for vocals, I think there might have been some discrepancies for writing with vocals and it might have sounded off, but it didn't. But one thing that I want to ask you is there were no solos on the record. So like was it deliberate or like was it something that just like hey the songs don't need a solo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lead player, and that's not like my thing. I can do little bits, but I'm not. It's not my focus, and realistically, it's not my interest. And not a single second of any of those tunes, to me, required or asked for a guitar solo. We know what we were trying to do. We were trying to just make like a twangy, like not be too metal.
I see.
So I'm thinking about the alternative rock bands that um
Are technical.
yeah, but I mean I made it technical, but I just mean like if you think about uh Under Oath or Dead Letter Circus or Carnival, so these, or even Tool maybe, or shit, what's Maynard's other band, Perfect Circle. So these
Yeah,
kind of alternative rock bands that a lot of metal fans like, but it's not metal.
makes sense.
That that's the kind of, or Try, what I did with Try. That's the kind of pocket I wanted to be in.
Right, because I have noticed one thing, like your solos have like come in my like you can be like tell me if I'm correct or not, but like it comes from a rhythmic place and more from like um I would say like a riffy bits. I can hear them in your solos and like not super like John Petrucci-esque guitar solos. And I think even Ian Kenny pointed that out in your try solo, that it didn't sound like somebody was trying to share, but it sounded like was trying to tell something. So like what do you like whenever like for let's say for a balanced solo or for an open solo, like how did you approach those things?
I just want things to be episodic and have moments and be structured well. So just call and response and things that build, things that are catchy, things that make sense. If I can, I'll refer to a theme or a vocal line or something like that. Just be smart about it. I don't have enough licks to jam over backing tracks all day. That's not my vibe. I have no interest in that. And I don't have the ability to do it. I don't have that vocabulary. It's
But
not a
you
skill
have
set.
chops. I mean,
But yeah, so that's the approach, is like everything needs to be a statement or sit apart, or I don't know. This is the stuff that we did. If you look at, I don't know, the
Animus.
Animus. Yeah, I think that's got a good example of what I'm talking about. So
Right, yeah.
not just going to 10 for the whole thing and just showing off and trying to force in a new lick that I just recently learned. It just means nothing to me. And yeah, in the future, never say never, but you probably won't hear many solos from me in the future because it's just not my bag.
Fair enough. But yeah, one thing I keep telling people also that one thing that I picked up from you personally was after Monuments, right? Every piece of content that you have, every single piece of music, sorry, you have put out has 6 strings on it. So like, is there a specific reason why you use just 6 strings to write your material?
It's just, yeah, I just prefer it. I just never pick up the 7 or 8. Um, it's more comfortable. I feel like the melodic hooks and the things that I'm trying to make happen, they pop out more on the 6 string. But because I don't like to do the same thing every time. So the next logical step from here might be to go in that direction or do something more distorted or something heavier or darker. So you never know. I still have
Right.
them. But yeah, for the most part, I just don't pick them up. Like my favorite guitar is the AZ, and it's a 6 string. So it's just a
Yeah,
natural.
fair enough.
It's not predetermined or anything.
Yeah, and I think that personally helped me affirm that, because every single friend of mine, I'm like the only idiot who has a 6 string. I haven't bought a 7 string yet, but like every single friend of mine has a 7 string, and like heavy equals better. That's the ideology that's been pushed by the media right now. And I mean, I say it in a funny way, but yeah, I mean, if I think what you might like are saying is that you can express yourself the best with a 6 string, right?
Personally, yeah. So far,
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
far. But I mean, I can play 7s and 8s, and I have them.
Right,
I just don't want any limits and I think focusing on what you're doing it with just makes no sense to me.
right. But
But
I have, yeah.
go
Sorry,
on.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just saying, as you pointed out, everything's been on a 6 string so far. So if anything, that does make me want to turn a corner and go the extended range route maybe in the future.
You remember your GGD Cali cab demo that you made on a 7 string?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, if you made that into a song, that would rip, because like it sounds very Ollie. Anyway, but what I was getting at was I think I lost my train of thought again, but yeah. So one personal question for like I have is that with 6 strings and like I would say like drop D and drop C personally, like you have certain keys like it's a little restrictive that you can use 2 keys probably like have the open string as the root or as a fifth perhaps, so like how to be more creative with like drop tunings.
Uh, I mean, if you like the sound of, so if you're looking at the end of Heartache, I'm pretty sure all those songs are in C. There might be
Right.
one or two
Yeah.
that's not, but if you like that sound, go for it. If you want to challenge yourself a bit more, don't give yourself license to do that. I did on the Imbalance. Everything's in D minor, and I'm in drop D. Apart from one little moment in Animals. Uh, yeah, but if you're bored of the sounds you're making, root something on the 2nd fret or the 3rd fret or the 7th fret, or don't touch the low string. Do you know what I mean? There are so many different, or change your tuning. There are so many different ways to approach different key
Right.
centers, but we do what we allow ourselves to do. So if you're looking at your guitar and you're like, I can't play in C again today, then make a change, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable thing to do. And yeah, I mean, what my goal is right now, first to get out of the shadow of being Ollie Singh, because that's what people call me, and second is to like be more like
What are they called?
Ollie Singh. So like Olly Steele, but it's an Indian version, so it's Ollie Singh.
I like that a lot. Just own it. Just own it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I take it as a compliment always, because like, why not? Hey. But yeah, that being said, like, trying to have some sort of originality, be it with like, certain like, bends in the riffs and like not sounding exactly like, somebody that's already been out. But also like one recent discovery that I made, and I think that allowed me to be more uh okay with being myself was my friend Sean Ash. You know him, right? He told me that people who try to like say that hey, I want to sound different, they end up sounding like somebody who they're not,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. And once I internalized that advice, like I was able to be more okay with not wanting to sound heavy, with not wanting to sound like what's the meta right now, and what I personally feel, how I can express my music, and that really helped me a lot. And every time like you release some stuff, that also helps me affirm that hey, okay, if Ollie is doing it, like then he owns it, like like having a song like with shuffle rhythm, like open, like who would expect like a metal dude playing a shuffle rhythm and own it? You did it. It had pink
Exactly what I
backgrounds.
wanted.
Yeah, right. See, and you had like a pink. Like pink is not a metal color by any means, but you owned it. You know what I
But
mean?
the thing is though, I agree with what Sean says, and I think this is an important conversation. But I don't. I do like to try and stick out a bit and do my own thing, because everyone that I grew up on did. You're not going to confuse Zach Wilde with Steve Vai. You're not going to confuse Steve Vai with Greg Howe. You're not going to
Right,
confuse
right.
Howe with Ben Lacey, yada yada. But I don't do it just to be different to everyone else. I know I am, because I'm an individual,
Right.
and everyone, and so are you, and so is Sean, yada yada. But I just do it to be different to the last thing I did, because that makes me
Okay.
feel creatively kind of authentic.
I see. So
And
like
then the other,
basically the only person who you are trying to be different from is yourself.
1,000%, and I'm the only person that I'm trying to impress as well.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Because I think about this all the time. If I wanted to, this is going to sound kind of childish, but if I wanted to, I could put every single technique I know that I'm quite good at into a song and really flex it and really just stay in that pocket and just show off and be really quick and care less about the song and just jam every single technique in there that I could to try and get some sort of social media impact off it.
Yeah,
But that,
21-day fix, JTC.
what?
Like 21-day fix technique, fix your technique stuff on JDC. Like you would have one 21-day fix series for every single technique that way.
Sure. My
But I
point
meant it
being,
as a joke.
no, I get it. I was just trying to work out what that was, and now I know. It's like, I think it's a newer thing they're doing.
Right.
Well, I've only recently become aware of it. But so I could do that, and I know it would be popular, because that's how the algorithm works. But that's not what inspired me as a kid. What inspired me is just the right riff at the right time and the right hooks and the right production. And when someone did something new, something that I hadn't heard, or something a little bit unpredictable for that band, that's the stuff that I used to like. So trying to be different than everyone else that's also a lane in a weird way. That's also restrictive.
Yep.
I do some things on the new EP that could have fit in Monuments. I do some stuff that could not have. There's a clean riffy rhythm thing in Sirens where
Sirens.
yeah, that's inspired by John Mayer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's not a new thing to put piano in a progressive tune.
That's literally Aviations.
Sure. Or some later Tesseract or Periphery. But it's new for me. It's a new thing that I try. So I know that I'm doing something that makes sense on my little path.
Right? Sure.
And that makes me feel creatively like at peace. There is a very popular style of Instagram riffs with the hammer-ons and the 13th and
Right.
the 12th and 13th fret and all that stuff. I barely hear it when I see it. It takes me 2 seconds to scroll past it because it's nothing new. But the first time I heard, if we're looking at the heavy riffs, but with the clean, gorgeous ambient guitars, that was fresh, that was new. The first time I heard Skindred mixing reggae and metal, that was brand new. The first time I heard Slipknot playing dirty, filthy riffs, but they have the break beats and the DJ scratches and Corey's
Right.
rapping a bit. That's new. Uh, Jonathan
I would like to
Davis
say
leading.
even Clayton King, like is introducing like the Thal elements with some dubstep EDM stuff, and that's pretty cool.
There you go. So that's more exciting. The last one I was going to say is Jonathan Davis losing his mind and just making up a new language, just with all the rappy monstery sounds from Korn. This stuff excites me, and a lot of the stuff that excites me is you hear it in like fusion music, jazz fusion music, or pop music where they're using strange instrumentation and just making it work. That's way more exciting to me than hearing another metalcore Instagram riff where someone is trying to be Architects or North Lane
Yep, yep. I
or
totally
who are
get you.
both, yeah, both great bands that I love. Saying they're trying to be that. They're trying to get a little bit of this thing that they like, which is natural, completely natural, but the result just rarely does anything for me. And I get sent that shit all day long on Instagram. People
Yep.
send me like, dude, have you seen this? This is amazing. And I can't have nothing to say because
Right.
I have seen this and it was old in 2013. So the point I'm making is if I'm doing something creative, I just want it to be fresh to my ears and fresh to my tunes. And whatever I have to do to make that happen, cool.
Sounds fair. Sounds like and I think like everyone who heard the Siren's Thumb part, like because like since Tosin has done it for so long, it's not hard to like say that, hey, that sounds like Tosin Obasi part, but like to be able to make a thumping section like make sense in the context without sounding forced is the hard part.
So I don't think it's thumping, it's slap guitar, which is a little bit different.
Oh really? Oh, okay. Okay.
But this is
I think
but because thumping is popular because of
right.
Avasi and Henson, that's the assumption. But it's slap guitar. It's something that Guthrie used to do.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's
Okay.
less
Oh,
about that. It's more about the harmonics on the top end. The melody is in the harmonics. And that's something new. It's something I've been doing for a long time in my bedroom, but something I've never put into a tune. So it feels I give myself creative license to do that one time. I'm not gonna make that my whole thing now.
right.
Now I want to find a new technique that I haven't used before.
That makes sense.
Kind of
That
where I'm coming from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think one time you said it on your Instagram that I don't want to be flashy on internet. I would rather write songs and be remembered after I'm gone. That sounds like a little like movie-ish, but it makes total sense. And that should be the aim for everyone, because like technique-driven music tends to sound similar after a certain point, to be honest. But like if it comes from a place of like pure songwriting, like doesn't really matter if it fits, it fits. I think even Guthrie talks about that if you can't make music, even Wes Montgomery, he's like a jazz dude, that if you can't make music with it, then don't use it.
Yeah,
So
it's a good thing. I mean, and also if you can shred your nuts off and you want to share it on Instagram, go nuts. And people will enjoy it. And that might still inspire people to go and practice or to try and work out what you're
totally.
doing. But for me, the most popular reel in the world is not going to be the soundtrack to your summer or a road trip or these social things that if I'm like walking and listening to music or traveling and listening to music, which is always how I've kind of consumed it the most, or if I'm tidying and I got music on in the background, it's always music and songs. It's never look at this sweet picking thing this guy did that's really clean. It's never
Yeah.
been that. So even though there are ways to make these big viral moments and get popular on the gram, it's still not real life. Whereas music and songs that people share, that's what I grew up on. That's what I want to make. And that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, and that's what inspires me too personally. And yeah, one important question that I wanna ask you, because like I have seen a pattern in your music and your releases. Do you think long form format, let's say like an album or an LP, is it dying?
I couldn't tell you. I think there's probably some data that says it is because of single driven releases nowadays. But I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about um, what's popular or what makes the most sense business. But I still I don't feel like a real musician until I've released an album personally. I just know that it might kill me because of the amount of
Work that's
detail.
gonna go.
Yeah, it's going to be hard work, but also, so I think that songs, making tunes, particularly break my balls. I know everyone struggles with their music, and sometimes you don't, and you can get a song done in a session, and sometimes it only takes a couple of weeks. But for me, the decision making process and just all of that, everything's quite intense for me, and everything's significant. I care about every single note, drum hit, velocity, vocal, which voice, which harmony, which symbol. This what that much of it is not just individual to me. A lot of people care about their music. I just know that like it's gonna cost a piece of my soul to do it, and it has to for me to love the result and believe in the result.
Right. Absolutely.
Um, but whether or not singles are better for streams
Algorithm.
or the algorithm, yeah, I don't care if it is true, and I've read a few things saying that what you're saying is true. Uh, then that's interesting and cool. That's a result of everyone's lack of attention and streaming being the new norm in terms of music consumption. But that wouldn't affect my creative output in the least bit. It
I
is
see.
it's completely irrelevant to me.
Okay, so you know what I personally used to think was that you knew for a fact that singles and EPs do a lot better. That's why I would say you only put out like one or two songs per year, and but I think you from now like talking to you and stuff. I think if you had an album, you would like just put it right.
Yeah, no, it's not because I'm a business genius. It's because I am slow and my output is minimal and I'm lazy. It's not because I'm like smashing the system. It's because making tunes are a headache, So it's not like, uh, yeah, it's no genius thing.
I
But
see.
also, I think that's the biggest artists in the world still put out albums.
Right, because they have like a huge following. First of all, who are dedicatedly gonna, and
And
I
who
think
does?
even Spotify and stuff helps them, right? Because like if I'm a big artist and if I have like some tune coming out, Spotify is gonna push it for me.
Yeah, and the other side is who does that benefit? Who are we talking about? Who's benefiting from an artist focusing on singles instead of an album? Not the listener. The listeners want an album. They want a body of work. That's what I
Right.
want. I don't want the last Bruno Mars album was in like 2016. If he drops a single now, I'm gonna listen to it, but then I'm not. It's
You
not
would
the same
want
thing.
more.
Yeah, I could. I mean, I would if he dropped a single, I would assume that it's the part of a rollout for an album. But like, I can't put a single on for an afternoon. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? And
Yeah.
a single or a smaller batch of stuff. So even with Imbalance, it's my first. I've made albums before with Murray, with Monuments, but I haven't done one myself. But even just in the four tunes that are in Imbalance, I managed to cultivate a vibe and a pocket and a groove and a theme.
Right.
You can't do that. That doesn't happen with a single. Um, and that's an important part as well. Is like a true vibe, a true sense of where the artist is at creatively. A single is just a one-off, right? But a handful of tracks or a bunch of tracks or a full album, it does that thing. And I think that kind of relates more to an era of an artist's music as opposed to a one-off single that they dropped. So that's quite important to me as well as a listener. And I think a lot of listeners, whether they're aware of it or not, also appreciate that.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I think that's also one of the reasons why because I have seen like some video floating around on the internet you playing the tired riff like from 7 8 years ago. So I know for a fact that it's an old tune that you wanted to like put out, and if you were to use that in Imbalance, like that wouldn't make a lot of sense because it's like super heavy, like distorted, and like you had like a whole idea like in terms of the soundscape and the theme of the lyrics and stuff like that for this particular EP. And I think that probably was the reason why it took you that long to put out an EP, right?
Yeah, I mean there are other reasons too, but just like other personal reasons. But I know, like I know what I'm doing. I know what I want.
Yeah.
I always kind of know. I always know what I want. This is something I was talking to, can't remember who, but creatively, I know what I want, or if I like it or if I don't. If there's a decision between two things, I know which one I want, and I know the reasons why, and I know why it benefits my music to go down this direction instead of that one.
Right.
But every so often, like 1% chance, I literally don't know. And when I don't know, I feel like a lost little lamb. It's such an excruciating thing. But that's like a little side note. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I had a focus. I had a area of music that I wanted to kind of work inside of, and just spend some time in this particular vibe. And in the
Right.
future, I might return back to it because this stuff came off the back of Tide. When I did sorry, not Tide, Try. When I did Try, I was like, oh, this is fun. It's fun to do riffy, twangy stuff with a vocalist. This is something I would like to explore more. So it's something that I could go back to as well. But because of how I am, it's not going to be the next thing I do because it doesn't. I've just spent 2 years in drop D in D minor,
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me to do that.
So, bro, I mean, a very personal question. Like, this is a question that I want to ask because, like, now I'm transitioning from, writing instrumental to writing for a vocalist. And I have this fear, like, not fear, but like a self doubt that what if the thing that I release with vocalist, like, connects with a lot more people. And then when I, like, I mean, it sounds like, I'm probably leeching off of the audience, but like just like in my headspace, like the appreciation and the work that I do with a vocalist, and then I have to go back to writing something instrumental. Like, how do I like make myself believe that I'm not gonna be a shadow of myself in any way?
That's an interesting one because statistically, one day, whether you know it at the time or not, you will put out your most popular song. For me,
Okay,
that was my first
balance.
song so far. Yeah, I haven't spent a second worrying about if I can do, but I'm just okay. Cool. They like that one. They like Open almost as much. They don't like Get Trucked as much because that's not what my fans
I
want to
like
hear.
Get Trucked a lot
I
personally.
like it too, but my fan base, they didn't come here to hear me do that. And I was fully aware of that. But there were reasons for that song to be made, and I enjoyed it. And it's something I wanted to do. Um, I think it's quite dangerous to worry too much about the response of music. And I'm not saying that I don't read comments and I don't check out what the vibe is and watch reaction videos and stuff. That stuff's interesting, it's fun. But the all it can do is slow you down, I'm pretty sure. Unless you're making music with the sole intention of getting reach and visibility. If that's the case, then you can do what I was talking about before and just do it to be flashy and just do it to show off and make it short and make the video really good, just for the algorithm, just for the viral moment. But if you care about your music in a different way, like I do, then that stuff shouldn't really be a factor. Yeah, a song off Imbalance may turn out to be more popular than Balance. It may never. What am I supposed to do? Try and chase it balance for the rest of my life? It's not my
Yeah, that.
job.
Yeah.
And a director is going to make, I don't know what Quentin Tarantino's most popular film is. I'm assuming Pulp Fiction. I could be wrong.
Yeah, probably.
He didn't stop after that. He still made amazing films after that. He's creative. He's got shit to do. That's his job. Worrying about chasing something that you did once that was good, I just can't see that being anything but like a dampener on your creative output. So if you can try and ignore that, it is an interesting fact, it's an interesting statistic, and it's interesting to see a song that you thought would perform well not do as well as you thought, and a song that
Right.
you didn't assume would do much to actually take off. It's like, for example, when we put out a Monuments album, we all have our gut feeling for which one's going to be big, but it might do less than we thought for various reasons. It might just not be as good as we thought. Maybe it didn't reach as many people as we thought. Maybe it's in a weird spot of the album where people don't listen that far. There's so many variables, and there's just too much brain energy to waste. So my advice to anyone creative, including you and including myself, is do the best you can to make your ears happy at the moment in time that you're in. Worrying about the last thing you
Okay.
did, I can't see any way that that would benefit you.
That's some really great advice. Yeah.
But if I was a pop producer, I'd probably be saying the complete opposite thing. I would say,
Yeah. Fair.
what's the most popular synth sound at the moment? What's Ariana Grande doing? What's Adele doing? What's Beyonce doing? We need some of that. That's the in thing. We need numbers. We need
Because
to be
that's the
popular.
whole idea of popular music, to become popular. So you have to use what's popular, right?
Exactly. And funnily enough, we talked a lot about pop music when we were making Imbalance and trying to go in that direction a little bit. Just more with like vocal melodies and
Hooks.
stuff. Yeah, but not in terms of any campaign. We didn't hire a billboard, and we're not trying to get this song into nurseries and playgrounds and reach every level young
Yeah.
people. We're not doing that. But yeah, so this advice or this perspective I have is just based on what I've experienced and what I know makes me happy. But
Right.
everyone has a difference. I have some friends who are people that you'd know who are way more into working the algorithm, more businessy,
Yep. Yep.
and good for them. Do your thing, but it's not for everyone.
Right. And I think, if I think what I can understand from this is like, if somebody, like, including you and me, who want music, like, I would assume you can't live without music, because like I personally won't be able to live without music in my life in any form. So like if we want that longevity and sustainability with our music, it would be better to, like, steer into a direction that's like more sustainable and helps us be more healthy than, I'm gonna go this route and then reach a dead end, and then I have to come back and then go somewhere else. And that would, like, you would have certain self identity that, hey, I was this for so many years, and now who am I don't know. Stuff kind of like that,
But
what I mean?
my defense against that is I always know who I am. I always know what I want creatively, and it's not. I'm kind of like, what do you call it?
No, that's what I'm saying too. Like, I'm on the same page. What I'm saying is, like, if we lose the track of who we are and we go in a direction that's like more, which has more gold, and then once the golds run out, and when we come back, like, where do we go else
Okay.
to find gold? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm sure that everyone will have their own version of that. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's probably it's quite easy to get swept away by something. Everyone's into the what they call it buzzsaw guitar tone with the high whammy digitech thing. That's the new popular if you're trying to be heavy. It sounds sick. It would be fun to try something like that, but I'm not in a rush. And
To
if
do that.
anything, I'm a bit stubborn. I'm a bit of a teenager, and because everyone else is doing it, that makes it a little less attractive to me. But I wouldn't let that.
Okay.
I wouldn't let that dissuade me. I just know that I need to make the best thing I can in this moment, based on how I'm feeling. And I think if everyone does that, they'll make the best music. Is that going to get you signed? Is that going to get you more streamers than your mate who also makes music? Maybe
Probably
not.
not.
But how much of the data is going to matter when you're dead? And this is a huge part of why I make music, because and I've said this a lot in a lot of interviews, we still refer to Thriller as a classic album, and we still study Prince, and we still look at James Brown as a benchmark for this style of music and stuff. These people are long dead, but they made stuff that transcends time and continues to inspire, and they contributed to humanity in that way. I couldn't give a
Right.
rat's ass about how many albums James Brown sold on his second album versus his first. I have no idea. If you put it in front of me, that information, I'd be like, oh, what do you know? But
Right.
what matters is Papa's got a brand new bag. Like we know the tunes. They actually contributed with the short time that they were here on this planet. They offered something to humanity that transcends their short time here. Surely that's more important than Spotify figures.
That's
To
quite
me,
profound. Yeah.
to me, it is.
That's very profound,
I'm
actually.
not saying that if I woke up today and Waves was at 3 million plays overnight, I wouldn't be posting about it. I wouldn't be happy. I'd tell my dad. I'd tell my mates. I'd go get shit faced. Yeah, it's great. Money's great, and I'd be lying like fame or like notoriety, whatever. Yeah, it feels good. It helps to validate mentally. It helps you feel like you're doing the right thing. Like, because look how many people like it. I must be good at this thing. Of course, I'm not acting like I'm blind to it. I'm just saying that in the grand scheme of things, that shit is not gonna matter.
I see. Yeah, that was quite. Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm shy. Yeah, that was awesome to hear. Um, what I like, I would like to steer the conversation in like a more different direction now, because like I don't think just like a balanced outro, you can't beat that. But yeah, um, what role does teaching have in your life right now?
It's my main job, my main income. That's about it. I've been quite good at it since I was young. I'm not trying to be big headed. I'm just saying it's a skill that's been there. So I've just relied on that since like
Many
2009.
years? Oh damn,
Yeah,
that's yeah, that's like around 15 years at this
yeah.
point. Shit.
And
Wow.
because it's there and it's easy and it's not always easy, but it's something I know I can do, and yeah, it's just it makes no sense not to.
Right. So, like, when you have those one-on-ones with your students, like, does it ever help you personally in a way, like and not just the students?
Yeah, of course, it keeps you sharp and it keeps me sharp on the fundamentals because I find myself I am always having a conversation about right hand technique. It doesn't not happen like 95% of the time. Or riff writing or creative concepts or how to find chords or how to challenge yourself creatively. So that's the big. I teach more than I practice, like for damn
Oh,
sure. And then a lot of times, if I need to make bespoke exercises for a student, or sometimes I write little riff. They're trying to work on this technique, so I'll write them a little riff and record it and
right.
send them the backing track and the riff and stuff. So that's a little creative thing, and that's a fun challenge as well because if he's 14 and he's been playing guitar for 6 months, I can't just give him either creator and be like, yeah, go learn that. I need to try and work out a riff that
Right.
uses this technique, but it's like within reach to whoever the individual is. So that's kind of like a fun little challenge, and that keeps things fun and creative as well. So it's definitely good for me. Or another classic one is I get an email saying, hey Ollie, I want to work on hybrid picking, and I'm thinking, shit, I haven't really used any hybrid picking for like months. So I'll go back into it and work out, okay, this is the fundamental mechanical aspect of it. These are some exercises I used when I was getting into it. Here's some new ones I've come up with. If these don't work for you, you could try this. So yeah, if there's one thing that keeps the hands in shape or keeps the cogs turning, it is teaching for me.
Yeah.
So
And
it
also,
definitely is the short answer.
yeah. I don't think. Do you remember, like, you gave me a lesson last year and it
Oh,
was on. Yeah, yeah. So you don't remember? Yeah. So like this is going to be
was
fun.
that good?
It was changing. It changed me. So like the entirety of like the lesson, you and I, we didn't even pick up our guitars. I just came to you and I was like, hey Ollie, like this, I showed you a demo or two and I told you that, hey, this sounds like you. So you said, I said my correct words were like I ripped you off. So like you heard it and you said that was sick, but never tell me that you're ripping me off. That's what you told me first thing. And second thing, what you told me like about riff writing, like the whole lesson was like how to make full songs. And I think I can give this advice, like, to everyone who's watching this. What Ollie told me was, if you have a riff, deconstruct it, what it's made of. Like, take the skeleton. Is it like a bouncy riff? Is it like where do you imagine that riff? And then go in an opposite direction. That's how you create flow.
Mm.
And I don't know what happened. Like that just fucking clicked me so hard. In the mid lesson, I had like 10 different ideas running through my head. But yeah, I mean, after that, I wrote like 3 songs. I post 2 songs early this year, and then I have 3 more songs that I'm working on that I'll put out by the year end, and then probably an EP next year. So yeah, it like opened up so much for me, and like just that one thing. Because I personally, I'll be honest, I never really struggled with technique or like with theory, basically. That, but writing full songs and how to like once you do that, like it's like a snowball effect. Like you become more confident that yes, if I can write one song, I can write many songs, and not every single song is gonna be same. I think the heaviest I've gone is drop B. Otherwise, I try to be in the drop D to drop C range, because like that's even what I personally think I can express myself. Because I was a lead player at first, and then I became a riff guy. So yeah. So thank you.
My pleasure. So
Yeah,
you would recommend me?
I would say so. Yes.
Email in bio.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that was it. Like I had like I'm not gonna lie, I had like a whole questionnaire thing prepared that
Oh,
I
done.
wanted to ask you, because like I had this in mind that one day I'm gonna have Ollie on the podcast, and it finally happened. So first of all, thank you so much for agreeing, and for coming here. And I know for a fact that like you wouldn't be here if you didn't have something important to say. So like, do you have an announcement to make for people who have not checked out your EP yet?
Oh, 48 hours ago, I put out my debut EP. It's got Adam Benjamin from Aviation on vocals. It's got Aviations, sorry. It's got Anup Sastry on drums. It's got Jacob E. Mansky on bass. It's mixed by Nolly. I spent a long time on it. Pretty happy with the material. And if you haven't heard any of my music before, it's probably a good place to start. Check it out and see if you like it.
Hell yeah, nice. And do you have any parting advice before you go for me in particular, or anyone who's watching this, about anything?
Uh, Drink water and creatively do what it is that makes your ears happy. And don't worry about other people, because you won't make everyone happy. So just try and enjoy your musical journey as best you can.